Love me some Almond Brothers. Oh, yeah, blue skies. That's what I'm talking about. Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this Prosperity Day? Some call it Monday. Well, whatever. Hope you're having a good one and that you're in a good place. You know, speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. As I go over here and say hello and hit that button and go, all right, we're in a good place. So welcome, everybody. Trust that you are doing good. And I think everything is, as they would say, 5 by 5. I think it is, as I'm looking at the player. There I am. I love time travel. It's just so far out. It's like you can really do it. Yeah. You know why magic doesn't work for the world? Because the world's been taught that magic doesn't work. It's the lie. You know, the theme is everything you believe in, that includes me, it's most likely a lie. And today, it is weird because the truth is being portrayed as a lie, but the lie is truth. So you can really get hung up on that. But anyway, hello, everybody in the chat room. How are you? Much love to you. Thank you, moderators and everybody else. Boots on the ground. How are you? Susie Q, here you making some ketchup. Jackie, what's up? Good to see you, Lost in Space. Uma, how are you? Nina, much love to you, darling. Goddess Upsina, how are you, dear? Good to see you. Jeanette, hello. 111 Black Lamb. Yeah. Liar. Yeah. What did they once say? That no man, no person actually lies. They just change their mind. It's all how you perceive it. Hey, Bonnie, what's up? Good to see you, Miriam. Let's see. I know Deborah, I saw you in here earlier. And Linda Espinoza. How are you, darling? I love that. Linda Espinoza. It's like poetry. Anyway, I digress. Not to embarrass you, Linda. Would never do that. Let's see. Someone made a video and said they were blocked. You're not blocked. But anyway, and I guess I need to point this out. A lot of times when I'm just doing the show by myself, we're going over material and we got lots to cover. I don't really see what's happening in the chat room. So if I don't say hi to you, don't take it personally. Hello, how you doing? Peace, Go, all the way from Croatia. How are you doing? Stephen Jacobs, hello, good to see you. Mark, understand that it is your first time coming in. Well, welcome, sir. You'll find the crowd here to be extremely nice. Yeah, cheers. Holy cow. Well, that'll just perk you right up in a second. Like, hello. Lady Ellie, how are you? Yeah, sending peace, protection. That's what it's at. So, got lots to cover. What else? Had someone write me and said that they had a dream and they need me to call them as soon as possible. Hey, I appreciate that. But maybe give a little bit more background. So that's kind of my message out to you. Not that what you hadn't seen or, experience isn't important in these last days, if these are the last days. I guess that depends on when were the first days. We still don't have that right. So following the theme of the show, if the beginning is wrong, how can the ending be right? I don't get that. As a pilot will tell you that, let's say you're starting in Dallas, Texas, and you want to go to Kansas City, let's just say. you map that course out, think it's 1,000 miles, maybe not quite that, but let's just use 1,000 miles. Not saying it is, but so you know that if you haven't chart this out right, in particular your autopilot, because that's going by GPS and the markers, but if you enter in the wrong destination coordinates, even if you're off a half a degree, by the time you reach your destination, you're not going to be able to see it. You're going to completely miss it. And that's what happens with once a lie or a fabrication is added to the truth. The truth is no longer the truth. It's like there's no true human beings. We call ourselves Homo sapiens, sapien now, get that. Wise man, wise man. No, we are such a regressed species. Hell, we got people that don't know the difference between the biological sexes. That's crazy. It's a different type of perception now. And this weekend I had the opportunity, what people believe. And they don't do any study. They never question the narrative. They never look into, well, how did the narrative start? I mean, who started the narrative and why? What was the purpose of the narrative? And then if the narrative has been added to, subtracted from, it's no longer the narrative. But if you continue to take that out, and let's say that the narrative initially started, let's just say 400 BCE. No, actually it would be CE, the current event. So 400, the year 400. Strange year. Very weird century that actually had started, get this, 150 years after the so-called event. So follow me on this. You have a narrative that was deliberate. It was deliberate. And it's odd when you find out who was really behind this narrative. And when getting back to what we and I experienced, people don't question. And if you try to inject maybe what you perceive to be at least maybe not the absolute truth, but seems to have much more truth than what the current truth that is perceived as the absolute truth. Truthfully, I say. Y'all keeping up now? So let's continue with the discourse. Hello, Robert V. How are you doing? Good to see you. I'm reading this. See, that's when you stop in the conversation. You go, okay, I know not to do that. But anyway, so it's when you begin to question the narrative that you begin to go back and you're saying, okay, there's something not right here. It doesn't feel right. And then you go back and you start to read and you're going, now, wait a minute. I mean, this is obviously a history, but it's a history with a past. The history we call today is, in fact, his story. And I was doing some reading, and, you just sometimes you sit back and you go, really, this is what I literally said, and parted for the expletive, but I said, what the fuck? Why? What's the purpose here? Well, obviously, it comes down to control. That's what it comes down to. So, little sidestep here. We've been in our house now for a year, and still unpacking. Speaking of unpacking, that I really talk the fact that your words create, and I really feel that as truly as an adapt, my initiation was really amazing. There is a guy that, yeah, I think he's still around, down in Arkansas. Met him a number of times, actually picked him up. He flies his own plane. It's not a jet, it's a plane, it's a Cessna, in fact. But the amazing thing about this guy, he is still a farmer. That's what he does. Farms for a living. Been very successful at it. And anyway, he believed that his calling was to go into preaching. But what the guy discovered, and if you can extrapolate and not box in the message because of what the box came in, he figured it out. And it's been a pattern in my life, learning by example, learning by doing. Anyway, the cat's name is Charles Capps. Now, the thing about Charles Capps is that he is a guy that absolutely believes that every word you speak out of your mouth is words of power. They're going to shape whatever you are right now. Look around where you are. You are where you are at as a result of your words. No one else put you in there. You put yourself in there. Now, there can be extenuating circumstances, but those circumstances have a tendency to follow an entry. And so the thing about Charles Capps was that he learned the message about prosperity, healing. He was a cat that, said you don't necessarily need anyone to lay hands on you. You have the ability as a creative spirit to heal yourself. You can speak healing to your body. I see most people just speak negative about their body. I find people who love this sympathy that they can extract by saying what's wrong with them. Oh, I got this thing. I got that thing. I got, what they want, these are actually psychic vampires, because what they're doing is that they're deliberately pulling out a reaction to something that they themselves created. Truth. Yeah. So anyway, it impacts all of our lives, and it's true. And if that is true here in this realm, then it means someone is creating something that is in their image. By the way, I had this in a conversation. So where I'm at, everyone believes that God created us, humans. And that, he created Adam first and Eve subsequently. But that's not, and that's the confusion of that book. It's a spell book, because within one chapter, it contradicts itself completely. But anyway, so Lynn and I were talking. I said, isn't it odd how we missed it for all those decades, where it says that God created male and female in his image? So I said, so what is this being? Is it truly a hermaphrodite? Does it have both sex genitals? It would have to, because that's what it says. It says that he created them both male and female in his image. Well, okay, so most people think of the dude having a penis, but it's quite obvious that he must have had a vagina too. Now, it gets really strange, because then you're asking yourself, well, what kind of being is this? I mean, some weird shit. I keep telling people that you got to wake up. This being does it has to tell kind of the truth. This being, wherever it came from darkness. And the logic is, if you're saying you created light, then you came from darkness. Now, the question is, well, how long was that darkness? I don't know. And if this light is so-called good, it certainly has seemed to have its, let's say, its downside. I mean, think about it. People die of melanoma cancer. Why? How you get that cancer? Well, you're out in the sun too much. And today, our sun is much more brutal than it was the sun even 100 years ago. But anyway, so you got to think about this. So the light is good. Come to the light, Carolyn. Come, like, yeah, don't go to the light. Don't go to light. I don't know. But I do know that it's weird, but getting back to that point. So a little side note there, because that's just really weird. It's like, wait a minute. This creature must be really weird looking. I don't know. Someone said, we can't take it literally. Well, that's what it says. I always like people that go that, well, it's not meant to be taken literally. Then why was it written that way? Well, because people speak in metaphors, allegories, symbolically, Well, okay, then give me the cipher if that's the case. Because if you say one thing and you're trying to tell me that I am supposed to conclude another thing, that's magic. That's the confusion type. That's the wrong kind. You want to control me is what it is, right? You want to control my thoughts. You want to control what I read. You want to control what I hear. And if I should have a different take. Yeah. DC, what's up? Good to see you, brother. Brian, how you doing? So as I said as well, there are no true humans. No. We know by the Human Genome Project that's been done nearly 2 decades ago, and we have really advanced far from there. We know that there are no true humans. Not any. There may have been a race that was called humans, but it's not us. We're all hybrids of some sort of a nature. That's just an absolute fact. Nothing about, conspiratorial about that or hyperbole. No, it's just a fact. There are no true humans on this planet. So that gets really bizarre. Is the story of creation really about creation, or was it a hijacking of a once proud race of beings who were extremely intelligent, extremely enlightening? I mean, that could be possible. But if you believe in one particular, like, for instance, the archaeological record, paleontology, they say that, it's in our DNA, it's in our blood, that the simians, human simians, now that's an interesting term. We talked about that before. And why am I going through all this? Because, yeah, that's what I mean. Exactly, Lost in Space. It's like, yeah. So then doing my reading over the weekend, it was just, and I'm really deep into it. And I'm going to get this because I really want to cover this book. This is one of the better books. So this is The End of Traditional Religion, Pagans and the Rise of Christianity. And for those of you who may want to get a copy of it, it's on Amazon or wherever you get your books at. I have been really mesmerized by this book, getting into it, because the former belief system I had a perception of a society, of a people, that it's not right in the way that it is told today. There was a sophistication. There was a greater enlightenment. We are darkened beings. I contend that we are in the second dark ages if we ever came out of the first. I'm not sure. And it's interesting because if you think about 400 CE, AD, however you want to phrase it, 400, the year 400, woo, there was some battles taking place. And how about this? We have been taught that there was a certain segment of society, because of its belief, that were put into the gladiator games, slaughtered. And we've been taught that this was a travesty. It was, but it may not have been what we've been taught. If you are sophisticated enough, if you are truly enlightened enough, and let's just say that your agenda is to not only plant the seed, but you have this ability to transcend time. And what I mean by that, you know that the plan that you initiate, that within 2,000 years, it will completely capture the world. No human being is exempt. And let's say you are competing with thousands of belief systems. Most belief systems, talking about the first century and back, were all local. There was no overriding belief system. If you lived in a community of 100 or of 10,000, your belief system was local. You weren't influenced by something 2,000 years ago or 2,000 miles away. So you are now looking at the future. Now, it goes into your belief systems that when you die, you're going to be heralded on the other side of accomplishing this goal of basically conquering the world, controlling the thought. Now, again, you're competing with thousands of different beliefs. How do you begin to persuade, let's just say, an empire, an entire political system? You change it. Okay, that's a hell of a big start. But you've got to have it's kind of like mixing epoxy. You know, you have to have that accelerator. Well, let's just say that those that were in charge of the narrative realized that, if we perceived that 1,000 of us were slaughtered because of our beliefs, wow, that would really be a story. These people faced death. The problem was those who actually faced the death were not in on the inside. They didn't realize that they were merely they were pawns being played in a much bigger production. But it was necessary for that blood to be shed in order to accelerate this agenda, this plan, this narrative. You and I are victims of it. But they don't want you to go back and look at this other history, a history that actually has experience behind it, not a made-up narrative that invents the history. And so I would highly, it's a great read. And then we're going to cover it. I just think it's that important of a book that, again, it just drew me in. And immediately you begin to realize, and for a point of reference here. So what happened between the year 375 and the year 415 thereabout AD? Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was one of the primordial moments that began to change, and little was it known. I mean, I think Jerome, I'm not sure if he was actually aware, or he may have well have been the concoctor of this, but I have a sense that it was actually preceded by the Flavians, eventually going all the way down to Constantine. But Jerome, he realized that the pagans, because that's what you were called, each local vicinity, local community was a pagan community. And they weren't called pagans necessarily. It was, it was their beliefs. They didn't think about it. It was just accepted. And then, when you look at people like Alexander, when he rose to his power, many people point to that as the beginning of what we are now experiencing. So getting back to Jerome, we know that when he was in the cave taking the mushrooms, fact check me. But in any case, and I'm not saying that he was influenced by psilocybin, maybe. I mean, if you're going to be working for a deity, a demiurge that, is a real son of a bitch, maybe, But anyway, he altered the complete foundation of humanity when he was channeled the word Lucifer. Didn't exist. But look at it today. Look at what the word Lucifer does when someone hears it. It freaks them out. Most people, oh, Lucifer, oh, that's the devil. Oh, can you believe that he actually said, yeah. And it's like frozen, but it is so good. But anyway, so Jerome, like I said, he definitely, as you examine the evidence, you'd have to say this guy was almost on the inside. I don't know if he was the Don or not, but he had to know something far greater than those around him. We know that Jerome, who later was called Saint Jerome, altered Flavius Josephus's work in the War of the Jews. He deliberately went in there and altered the text because he had to have something. They had to have something of his story that would back up the narrative. Because the problem with paganism is that it never anticipated a savior that was foreign. There was Dionism and there were other belief systems, but as far as this narrative is concerned of some dude coming back and what have you, that No. Many had polytheism. There wasn't this monotheism. It was, in fact, it was considered, you would be not right in your head if you believed that there was just one person. So this battle that began to take place to alter history, to alter the narrative. Think about it today. They actually, and Lynn and I have sent preachers over there to go to Israel, walk the steps of Jesus, all made up. I had a question because I was questioning someone on this, and he said, well, where's your authority to say that the narrative didn't happen? And I said, well, do you know history? He says, I am well versed, particularly first, second history. I said, so who was the main cat in charge? Let's go with year 0, year 1. Well, you have to be more specific. I said, why? You're the one who is claiming to be the expert. Tell me what the situation was in the complete Mediterranean and Middle East. Well, that's a broad question. No, it's really not. There were key players. One would be Vespasian, Flavius Vespasian. Going from leading the Roman legion in this region that was very valuable to Rome. Jerusalem was a crossroad of commerce. But they never talk about that. Why? Because Vespasian was there. We know his sons as well. You never hear him talk about Philo of Alexandria. Historian. He was there. No story. The other thing that always amazed me, and it's covered in here, is that this would have been an illegal state execution if the story was real. Rome didn't work like that. See, Rome was not like the United States. We're lawless now. When you have government officials in the White House, Congress and other points where they break the law, then you don't have any law. That's the thing that's going on. Now, Rome knew that. You broke the law in Rome, your ass most likely was going to be hung on a rope, a tree, nailed to one, beheaded, or worse. No, the law was everything. And Vespasian, Augustus, Caesar, would have never allowed one of his governors to commit a state-sponsored execution. Doesn't work that way. Never did. But yet, today, every belief system all goes back to now a central person. It's the Christ consciousness. It permeates everything in this reality, this realm. And it's clever. And I've spent more time on that, but you can tell that it talks about Constantine. It gets into this really deep into the woods, so to speak. And what we're finding out, there is this battle of Christianity. Who was going to control the consciousness of humanity? Who was going to point the direction? Who was going to begin to either allow, restrict, but who was going to be the one in charge? Now, the thing about paganism is that, yes, they had, in some pagans, they had blood sacrifices. They made sacrifices, others didn't. But the thing about Christianity is the way that it won was that it killed its opposition, slaughtered them, because they were the ones, they had the true message, they were truth, they served the one true God, they were above questioning, above reproach. And if you did, then you were singled out and they silenced your voice. They would come into your home, slaughter you, your family, most likely in front of you, all in the name of Jesus, all in the name of the church, holding their holy Bible, which, by the way, oddly enough, was not the King James at the time. No, it's amazing. You know, I tell people, what Bible do you have? Well, we have the only true Bible. I said, really? Which one is that? It's the King James. So, well, that's a damn lie. Latin Vulgate. But anyway, here they are coming in, and then the thing they would do is that then a priest would come in and go through all your shit. Because you see, they didn't like philosophers. They didn't like open thinkers. They didn't like those who challenged the narrative with a different one, because they were afraid of that one. And even though that one may not have been the one, it was a part of the one. It was a part of a consciousness of humanity. The world had many different belief systems, and we seem to do quite well for thousands, who knows, tens of thousands of years. But this virus, so they would go through your shit. You'd have someone from the church there. And if you had any writings, because remember, writing back then was you most likely were an intellectual, because the commoner didn't read or write, couldn't afford it. And they would go through your writings and they would take, if you happen to be really good, an alchemist, a witch, wizard, whatever, maybe a priest of your own belief system. The rest of it they would burn. And this is how this is how paganism was put to death. But the problem with the truth is it always has this way of coming back, resurrecting. And once it finds a vessel that is open to receive, yeah. So anyway, we'll get into this book. It is just, it's one of them that you just go, okay, well, I'll say I completely had that wrong, you know, and I had no idea, you know, and you look at this and you go, well, wait a minute. And then it goes to, you added to your knowledge now, your experience, that you've lived your own life, you know it, you know your own thoughts, and, you know, you're going, And then when you hear the crap that I hear, you know, God and country. And of course, they want to go and read their Bible. You know, they got to give a Bible verse out there. And I just shake my head and go, they have no clue. None. But boy, they're having fun at it, right? Let's see. I'm checking in on the chat real quick because I got other stuff. So there is another book that I have just gotten into. And wowza. I am really, this is from Elaine Pagels. She is the author of the Gnostic Gospels. I'm having fun with this one. This is the origin of Satan. And it goes hand in hand with this book here. You see, without the Satan, Christianity would have never survived. Because what they did is that they used the Hellenistic model. You know, you have to take something, you know, because if you don't have a God, if you don't have a history, well, then you have to adapt one. You have to say, well, all right, this is the one we're going to take. But the problem with that is that it is completely illogical. But if you're controlling the history, well, then you can backdate shit. That's one of the things early on with Microsoft Word was that you couldn't do that. Everything had this permanent date and timestamps when it was created. You couldn't alter it. It was in the code. Today, fortunately, it's not that way because we live in this world of lies, deceit, illusions, thinking that we're all enlightened. We all here want to know the truth. But it's anything but that. But this is a great book. I'll continue to get into it. And again, you see how if they didn't have the nemesis, the antithesis of the belief system collapses. There's nothing that substantiates it, nothing that upholds it. Weird, I know, isn't it? Hey, Mary Wins, how you doing, darling? Good to see you. So you can see what kind of weekend I had. I was just beautiful weather, and and I'm just out there just going, yeah. Hello, Patricia Moss, as I am looking around in the chat room. Good to see you, William. Paul Joe, what are you doing? Michelle, good to see you. Yes, that's true, Michelle. It is. That's an elegant way of putting it. Pagans believe in the earth and themselves. Yeah. Many pagan beliefs were, as I'm learning, is that particularly in the passing, is that the earth receives you back. And I thought, well, yeah. But no, we've made the other side a complete industry. Oh, we're clever. Yeah. Uh-huh. You want to learn about the other side? Fine. How much can I extract from you? How much money? How much psychic energy can I feed off of you? Because I've got a story to tell you. And, we all bought into it. Hell, Lynn and I, probably in our lifetime, given over $1 million away to the church. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you, we got the golden ticket. Willy Wonka, called us up and said, here. Hey, S. Lee, what's up? Claudette, good to see you. But yeah, what? Well, you get to meet the leaders. Well, they have a direct connection to God. And they're going to lay their hands upon you, pass that anointing on. Because you want to be like Solomon. You want knowledge. Oh, yes, indeed. Hey, Scott Lewis Smith, good to see you. What's a pagan? Who defined them? Well, it's like who defined Homo sapiens? It was us. No one, we didn't go to the person who actually did it. What we're saying, I like what Stephen Hawking said in one of his chats that, it's like, well, Earth. Why do we know it as Earth? I mean, we call it Earth. Is that the universal thing that everybody else out there just knows? Well, that's Earth. Didn't you know that? I mean, we could be living in the place called Earth that really has a name much older and probably is maybe the original. But no, our history is what we've invented. That's the trippy thing because it's all been invented. I mean, holy crap. Paul Joe says Jesus wasn't all Rome. But the problem is, Paul, is that there was no Jesus. When are we going to grow up and to say in the first century, and let's just put it this way, in a Jewish culture that we Englishized, we sanitized, westernized. There was no cat walking around. They didn't have a J. And you're telling me it's royalty. Well, we know throughout history they don't change royal names. Paul, do you get it? There we go. Kitty says, we are all still confusing a God, Jesus, and the propaganda machine. And this is what it is. It's propagandized. Someone's propaganding us because they certainly have tried, I've been at this for a long time. I've brought to all of us thousands and thousands of books. Yeah. And we see where we're heading today. It's crazy, man. I'm just looking at some of these. It's the thing about, yes, Paul Joe says Yahshua. Okay, but talk to a rabbi about Yahshua. See, that's part of paganism. That's why Christianity stole from paganism. Christianity is a pagan religion. It doesn't have its own gods. It had to create them. It had to get you to believe that it actually happened. Yeah. And that's the hardest fucking thing about this is unlearning. Because you're going to most likely mentally assent back to that which you were told in the very beginning of your youth. Now, I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just telling you how it works. They got to get you to believe it actually happened. The whole story. Yeah. The ultimate brainwashing, the ultimate control system. This is why this realm is so whacked out. There's people like us. We're waking up to this thing. And we're not afraid to talk about it. Ooh, man, you've got to be careful. Hey, they put our kind to the stake many times through their history as they controlled us. It's what's wrong with government. Government is so corrupted because the very religion of which that government was founded upon is corrupted. It's just the way it is. Whew. It's a tough breakout. Yeah, isn't it? Hey, Susan, what's up, dear? Voiceovers for Brown Butterfly. How are you? Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Honored. But it's true. I've got a number of books and I'm not even close because I'll have to pick this up on Wednesday because it's important that here's the problem. Once this is in you, and again, your belief has added to the other beliefs, it's exponential, and it makes it true. I mean, look at the painstaking method that they have gone to create a narrative of a story that never happened. But yet, everyone today believes that it did happen. Wow. It's a mind coitus. I mean, these sons of bitches, or whoever they are, I mean, you get pissed off and you're ready to go kick some, spiritual ass. How dare you? It is said that the vast majority of pagans was that they not so much believed that their gods were physical, much like, the Greeks. Hell, we can go back all the way to the Sumerians, is that they believed that what you see, what you experience, and what you do back is really the character that is going to be your fate. Many of the pagans loved earth. They had rituals. We incorporate them in today. Christmas today is pagan. There's nothing holy about it. It's a made-up story of an event that never happened. However, if you look at the events of Saturnalia, well, now that's a different story. But yet they took the day, the very day, December 25th. You think that was by coincidence? Hell no. And then they incorporate this, that you bring in the Yuletide tree. That's paganism. All around. And then their other most holy day is the Resurrection Sunday. And yet they call that day after the prostitute god, the goddess of prostitution, Easter. And then it's odd because they have this Black Mass on Black Friday. Events that never happened. Yet, you're perceived, if you're a part of that, and if you don't participate in that, what's wrong with you? Don't let the devil steal your faith. He's a clever one, you know. His whole purpose is to confuse you, make you question God. Yeah. And what's really being said here in tens of thousands of churches yesterday, that the devil is stronger than any God. That's what you're going to hear. It's the devil. It's the devil. The problem today, if you're a conservative patriot, well, the problem is that the devil's in control. But wait a minute. It was your fucking God to begin with. Why? You heretic. It's heresy. God blessed America. Prospered America. Yeah, off the blood of a lot of other innocent souls. America is exactly the God that it serves, Yahweh, the God of war. When our economy goes into the dump, what always brings us out? War. War is good. War brings out patriotism. War brings out people in churches. What it does. Yet we'll just go through the same cycle over and over again. Where if we had learned from our ancestors, they may have been able to provide us some evidence here that, number one, your worth is not based upon what is in your bank account. Your worth is not what you see in likes and popularity and exposure. Your worth is what you value yourself at. Pretty simple. No, it's not. It's the fact that it is simple that makes it so freaking complex. Inky, there we go. War is good for business. Bill, it's true. It's absolutely true. Hey, Lori, good to see you. Yeah. Edwin Hawkins, war. What's it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah, particularly if you're the one fighting the damn thing. But if you're the senator or the person in Congress, and you don't have to go anywhere, but you're going to get the money out there because, by God, we got to protect the American way and the world value. But our values suck. We lie to each other. We deceive each other. That is what patriotism is about. Yeah. So I had a great weekend. I mean, I look at this, and again, I have a number of books I was going to be bringing out because it's this mind trap. And again, the foundation of this thing is to get you to believe in something, and they do it over and over again. This alien invasion that they're going to be pulling off, it's not real. None of it's real. People say, so are you saying that we're isolated? I'm just saying this. If you're telling me that there are humanids out there that have been able to break the time and distance equation, traveling from just one star to another, I ain't buying it. Now, I'm not saying that there could be potentially wormholes. I mean, Hawking's and, even Einstein said the only way you could do, because we can't balance or, bring his theory of relativity. We doesn't work. But I'm saying, on the other hand, maybe we don't know what's inside the planet. Maybe we don't realize if we're so gullible to fall for something, and we have, it's permeated every part of this planet. The reason why the system is starting to collapse is that there's people like us, people like me, that are talking out, saying, wait a minute, I'm trying to get it. It's the whole thing with witchcraft, the whole thing with worshiping demons, angels. I don't know if they exist. There's another realm over there. I'm in this one. I can read, I can experience what my mind, my body, my thoughts experience, but is that what's really happening? I don't know. I have to be open enough to go, but I damn sure know it's not the narrative that I was taught. Young children, that's how they get it to start. Jesus loves me, this I know, because the Bible tells me so. That's a rhyme. That's a spell. And then when you put music to it and you start chanting it, singing it over and over again, it becomes a mantra. And obviously, I guess it's calling something out there. Susie Q says, stay in your sovereignty. I think there's a lot to that, yes. And we're going to continue on this because it's difficult to break it because it's all around. I have a shirt that has the sigil of Lucifer. I think Lucifer is a cool perception of a personification. I mean, if this woman, and I think it's woman, I believe it would be more female than male. The male could create anything without the female. Got to have that. So I look at wisdom. Well, in fact, I know. The reason why I know that Lucifer would be female is that the book of Proverbs 1, actually, I'm afraid it's first Proverbs. It says, wisdom, was his daily delight. She is a she. Says that wisdom is female, feminine. So anyway, I mean, if I can meet the cast, I don't want to meet this other. I have no desire to meet the Jesus or anything. It's fine. He's obviously, I'm just saying that hypothetically, if these characters exist, they're egregores. We know that. But it's Lucifer. I mean, yeah, I'd love to have tea with her. Just listen. Hey, think about it. And that's what I tell Christians all the time. I've never seen Lucifer command me to worship it. I've never seen Lucifer command me to speak its name. Lucifer's never come and said, slaughter that person, slaughter that bull, do what I did. No, never had any of that. I can say that Lucifer has never harmed me, but I can guarantee you that Jesus and the God of Jesus has. That God is a vengeful son of a bitch. He even says that. He's a jealous and vengeful God. Well, that would make me a real pain in his ass, wouldn't it? Bet your ass. It's like, I'm ready. I've called him a coward more than once. I've told him, you're a son of a bitch that hides behind a cloud, and you will not show yourself for who you are, because then all reality would know that you're incomplete. Whoa. All right, folks. Well, it's been a fun one today. I didn't even get to any of the material, but hey, we go as the mighty river of energy flows, right? Nina says they don't reproduce like, I can't read that because I have a little thing in there. I'll have to wait it up. Yeah, true. And you see, everybody, Thank you, Brian. Yeah, it is true. Yeah. At least I would tell you this, if this is deception, fine. Because I was in that deception for 50 years. 50 freaking years. Huh? Like, geez. I told someone recently that, Lynn and I are ordained ministers, and he just said, how could you leave Christ? How could you turn your back on such a sacrifice? I said, because I don't believe in murder of any kind. And any God that has to have a murder to take place for the repitiation of sin is no fucking God in my mind. I don't want any part of it. Because if he murdered that one, he wouldn't have any problem murdering you. There you go, Bonnie. Absolutely. All right, folks. Tomorrow it'll be with Miss Trina and Miss Jenny, and I'm sure we're going to pick it up on this because it's all part of this, folks. I'm going to get a T-shirt made. I'm a proud pagan. Wow, that'll get a rise. He worships the devil. Sure. Okay, everybody. Much love to all of you. It's a trip and a half. It truly is. And I'm glad I can't think of a better group of spirit beings to be with. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is absolute fun. And it is. To me, it's a great way. Claudette, good to thank you, dear. Cowboy, good to see you. So, all right, folks, until Rabbit Hole Diver, how you doing? When is war coming? Gilbert, hey, that'd be a good thing to talk about. There is one coming. We've been in one for the hearts and minds of our soul. Remember that? Yeah, that's the battle. They say that the really next war is really coming. It's going to be the religious war. Yeah. Who knows? Yelsley, much love. Thomas, thank you. Tamara, good to see you. All right, folks. Y'all are just a far out group of people. Just far out. Susan, much love right back at you, darling. All right, everyone. Until we meet tomorrow. Actually, we'll say Tuesday, because technically tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow.